So even though this diversion of water has been going on for 150 years, maybe that's the reason why people don't realize that really the people of Maui are being stolen from 3 times in a single transaction. In the upper reaches of these valleys where water is diverted from these streams, not a cent is paid to the state or to the county or to the public for any of the water that's taken. Then, strangely enough, this company sells water back to the county Department of Water Supply, and ratepayers have to pay for this water that was already theirs just to have a limited amount of water for drinking. The rest of the water is, of course, diverted and wasted away, which means that the streams are dry below the diversion, and the aquifer of Iao is dry and getting drier all the time, so the county isn't able to use its wells in that aquifer to provide other water. So in a single transaction, Wailuku Water Company is stealing from the public 3 times with impunity, and the work that OHA, Earth Justice, and other groups are doing is just to try and make that theft stop.
This past budget session with the County of Maui, a few of us went and testified many times to encourage the county to condemn the watershed area that Wailuku Water Company owns.
The Maui County Council has shown an incredible amount of leadership in the last couple of years on water issues. They've passed ordinances requiring private users of water to report to them how much water they're using. They've passed initiatives to plan for the future of use of water on Maui. And most importantly, in this case, they've allocated or authorized $7 million in bond funding to buy the assets of Wailuku Water Company, as well as $200,000 for appraisal and legal fees. What's going to be absolutely critical in the next year is whether the council and the mayor will stand together and will go beyond just the mere authorization of that funding, but will move forward with acquisition. If the council moves forward with this acquisition, within a year's time, we can have water in these streams. We can have water for the county available for future use.
I got to go back to my father, I think, when he said, what can one man do? You know what I mean? It's like, you got to go back to that, because one man can do a lot.
This is a community cause. This is a life struggle. And so all people who intend to live here should be part of this cause. And they should say to the sugar companies and say to the water company, water is a public trust. It belongs to all of us. Restore stream flow. No bilolo.
This place can come back to life again with growing of kalo, little agriculture kind of things, plots here and there. With the na wai eha, if the streams start coming back, you're going to see a lot more things happening, not only on the land, but in the ocean. Out here, I dive out here all my life and stuff like that, and there's a connection, with the water flowing down to the ocean, because the fresh water brings nutrients, right? They call it ecosystem, So the water comes down, brings food to the fishes, like the little shrimp, algae, whatever goes into the ocean. And when that happens, small fish come, attract bigger fish come, it's just a cycle, And since the streams has not been running, you see a decline of fish over here. You see a decline of limu, because limu is dependent on a lot of fresh water.
Together with restoration of flow, what you'd probably see is a restoration of the fish. Not only recruitment for fish, but I think the whole food chain, because I think the food chain depends upon the streams flowing into the estuary, and both marine and freshwater animals would survive on that.
In Hawaii, our native stream animals are amphigerous, which is just a fancy way of saying that they require a continuous connection from Mauka to Makai in order to survive and reproduce. The way their life cycles work, the adult animals live in the higher reaches of the streams, and when they reproduce, their larva washes down, and after staying in the ocean for a certain amount of time, these baby animals would be able to migrate up the stream, and the cycle of life will continue. What happens in areas like Na Wai Eha, where you have private companies diverting almost all of the flow of the stream under normal conditions, without a connection that simply cuts this life cycle short for the native stream animals. What usually happens is that you'll have these babies waiting in the lower reaches of the stream, and there'll be a storm, and you'll have water overflowing the diversion for a day or two. And once that fresh water comes down the streams, the babies or recruits will key on that and begin to migrate upward. The problem is, because that's just a storm condition and there isn't a usual flow in the stream, the babies will only get partway up the stream, and then the water will dry up and all the babies will die. Fortunately, we have some angels out there like Skippy Howe who take time out of their personal schedules to go to the lower reaches of diverted streams and actually gather these baby animals that are there waiting and transport them up mouth of the diversion so that they have a chance of surviving. And while many people, myself included, really appreciate what Skippy does, there's just something inherently wrong with the idea that private companies can take these public trust resources, cut off the stream, stop the cycle of life for our native stream animals, all the while selling that water or using it for their private profit. And you don't have to be an environmentalist to really understand how wrong that is. And that's part of what the Hui and Maui Tomorrow, Earth Justice, OHA, and our allies are trying to address through this action.
We got to take care of the Aina. The Aina got to survive. And without the water flowing back in those streams, the Aina not going to survive. You got to do that because people used to farm in certain areas and they cannot farm. Let them get back and let them get a little bit self-sufficiency. That can build self-esteem in these people. Because, if you go to a grocery store right now, you go take a look how much taro costs. Costs expensive, So you get a family, you can farm a little bit of that, farm a little bit of this, farm a little bit of some other crops, Going to help them big time.
But you know what? You like poi, you complain about the high cost. Why is it costly? Well, hey, not many people farming, not enough farms. So a lot of people have a hard time. So yeah, it's you got to look at it that way too. So you enjoy poi, well, you need sometimes support farmers on the other side. More people getting involved because that's that much more cattle that's going to be put back.
If you like go fish and dive, well, the water got to come back because that can bring back the fish, that can bring back the lobster, that can bring back the limu. They got to understand it. We got to educate them on that kind of stuff.